Happy New Year! If you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, which I should be linking up somewhere so you can find them easily, at the end of 2018, I just started posting these mashups of Disney princesses and Power Rangers because, you know, sometimes you have ideas in your brain and you need to get them out, and also it helps to just kind of do something for yourself when you've been busy like grinding it out and doing client work and throwing pitches and nothing seems to be working, so you need something to just relax and have fun with. I initially got this idea after watching Ralph Breaks the Internet. There's a bunch of scenes where the Disney princesses are interacting with each other and hanging out. I love when they're just hanging out in the casual wear and their sweaters and all that kind of stuff. But towards the end of the movie, and I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler, the princesses get together and use their unique powers and abilities to kind of save Ralph from going. And I thought that they would make the perfect Power Ranger team, or Super Sentai. I call it Super Sentai because I'm a tokusatsu hipster. I was a fan of Power Rangers when they came out, but when I saw the Japanese version, I was immediately hooked. So I thought it would be great to reimagine the Disney princesses as a Super Sentai team. Regal Sentai Princess Rangers. I think some commenter on one of my Instagram posts did what it would be in Japanese, like "Oh Ranger" or something, or Himenger. I don't remember. I am very sad that I didn't write that down because then I could say that and make it sound really cool and stuff. If you've looked at the series, I've gone through and I've done most of the Disney princesses, including Kida, the one from Atlantis, the one that always gets left out, the one that wasn't actually part of the princess group in the movie. People were like, why isn't she there? So I was like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. But I haven't done the villains yet. And so now, in between projects and in between pitches and in between client work and in between stressing out, when I have time, I'm gonna go back and reimagine some of the classic Disney villains as Kaijin. And Kaijin is the term used for the monster creatures that the Power Rangers or the Super Sentai fight, or the Kamen Rider fight, any of the monster villains, they're called Kaijin. So I'm gonna reimagine the villains as Kaijin, and I'm gonna start with Maleficent because along with all of this, I've come up with tragic backstories for everybody. So I've recorded the initial sketching process. I guess you would call this penciling in comic creation terms. But this is the typical workflow I go through when I'm creating an illustration or a comic or whatever. There's the penciling part, there's the inking part, and then there's the coloring part. So this will probably be a 3-part series. And I'll show you all the terrible, sketchy, crappy stuff that I go through to get to something that looks less crappy. And I'll do a voiceover with the time-lapse and all that kind of stuff to kind of explain my thoughts behind what I'm doing, and also the lore behind why Maleficent is wearing a version of the 6th Ranger gear that I designed for Belle and Elsa and Ariel. On to the time-lapse. Alright, so this is probably going to be more a discussion of my thoughts behind the design for Maleficent rather than a workflow discussion, because honestly it's pretty straightforward. I usually start with a very loose stick figure skeleton type thing to just get a nice pose. Once I get the pose locked in, then I slap some meat on that. If the meat has armor, then I put the armor over the meat and then just go back in and carve out some details. So it's like sculpting, but instead of 3D, it's 2D, so it's very, very basic. Whenever I do a character design, I try to keep in mind the silhouette that character will cut walking through a scene so that when they're far away, you can recognize who it is. But, you know, that's a whole nother video that, you know, I'll do sometime later. So in my interpretation of Regal Sentai Princess Rangers, Maleficent is a former ranger, not necessarily a disgraced ranger, but a dark ranger, a ranger who used to fight for the forces of justice and truth and all that good shit. And at some point, and we would delve more into this backstory if this was actually a show, at some point she turns her back on the Princess Rangers.
and goes out on her own to find her own path. And along the way, she's found by Ursula, and Ursula in this universe is the Rita figure. She's the big bad, she's the boss figure. Ursula finds Maleficent and gives her new powers and all that kind of stuff. And so Maleficent joins Ursula, but it also builds in sort of a redemption arc for Maleficent if we wanted to go that route at some point. Like at some point she would remember her ways as a Princess Ranger and perhaps return to the side of the light, but you know, we're never gonna get that far. I wanted Maleficent's design to sort of echo the Queen Ranger designs that I had done for Ariel, Belle, and Elsa. So in every Super Sentai series, there's usually, if there's a team of 5, there's usually a 6th Ranger that comes in that has a souped up version of the main Ranger design. It usually has a lot of gold, it usually has silver, and they're overpowered. If it's a 3 Ranger team, the 4th Ranger is OP. If it's like a 7 Ranger team, the 8th and 9th Rangers are OP. But anyway, so I figured the Queens would have something different. So Elsa automatically gets something different because she's a queen. That's explained in her movie, that's fine. But the reason Belle and Ariel get queen uniforms is because I came up with tragic backstories for them, because of course I did. And I think Kida, the one from Atlantis, actually also turns out to be a queen, so she gets the queen gear. So I wanted Maleficent to feel like when she was a ranger, she was super overpowered and supreme and awesome and all that kind of stuff. So that's why she has the double-breasted tuxedo type thing with the tails and all that kind of stuff. Instead of a helmet, I gave her a sculpted face, because if you watch a lot of this stuff, the Kaijin, the bad monsters, in the Ranger shows, the Super Sentai shows, they never wear straight up helmets like the Rangers. They always have faces that have sculpted details, like their masks. Even if they're somewhat human, some of the female Kaijin have lips and noses and stuff, but it's not makeup or prosthetics, it's just a straight up piece of plastic mask. So I wanted to echo that same feel with Maleficent's face in here. When I go and detail these types of characters, Super Sentai characters, Rangers, or Kamen Rider, I usually start with the helmet or the face, because I feel like the personality of the Ranger and the Rider lies within the face. And with the Kaijin, it's the same thing. I usually start with the face and then go and kind of bring some of those elements into the rest of the design. But I think this looks like a pretty good place for me to stop. A lot of these panel lines and ridges and bumps and spiky things are going to get pulled out in the inking process, so I'll probably record another video for that.
Alright, thanks for watching. Hope this was in focus. I'm trying a new setup, so like if any of this was out of focus, I'm sorry. Hopefully the audio sounds pretty good. But yes, you can see the new fancy studio setup. This curtain isn't actually long enough, so like I'm gonna have to figure out how to make it longer or shoot with a different lens or something. But anyway, yes, please do all the YouTube things. I would like to kind of boost this channel this year, try to make more of it and do more stuff. And let me know what kind of things you would like to see on Draw Jam, if you want to see more tutorials, or if you want to see more sketches, or if you want to do other stuff. But I've got a lot of plans for the new year, and hopefully I can stick to a semi-regular update schedule. We'll see. When you're working freelance, you're always working, but there are busier weeks and less busy weeks, so we'll see how things go throughout the year. Yeah, so subscribe, share, tell your friends all about this stuff, and you know, thanks for watching. I don't know how to end these, so I'm just gonna stop. Bye.